This meeting is being recorded.
I'm going to send Erica a quick message.
Erica's in.
Yep.
Oh, you see her?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Well, welcome everyone to our first PromoStandards office hours. We're going to start doing these once a month and just see what kind of questions are out there in the community and get people on all at the same time who can help answer those questions. We are primarily a volunteer-run organization. So with that, if I'll just mention our board representative that's here today is Erica Lessi. And
Hey, everyone.
Our best practices representative is Patrick Elliott.
Going.
And then our marketing membership and education committee is Becky Ellis. And it looks like, Erica, I think you're doubling up with being our standards rep and decorator rep.
Okay.
And then service provider rep is Sanjeev. How do you say your last name, Sanjeev?
Sanjeev Kashyap.
Sanjeev Kashyap. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for volunteering to be here to help answer questions. We do have quite a few that was sent in ahead of time, so we'd like to go through those first. And if there is time, which I'm not sure because there's quite a few questions that were sent in, and then if there's any from others that are here, we can open that up if time allows. We do have some questions that were sent for it's more specific service provider questions such as OneSource or Antera. So what we've decided to do for those questions is we'll leave those to the end and we'll offer breakout rooms for anyone that has questions for Pablo, who will be here to answer questions for OneSource, and Carrie, who's going to answer questions for Antera. But just to get us going, the first question we have is, how can new suppliers join PromoStandards? So I don't know who wants to take that on. Is there?
I can take it. So,
okay.
For anybody, it doesn't matter what role you are. All it takes to join is visit the website, go up to membership, and you're going to see what your options are there. And so what's notable for membership, there are different membership levels, depending what you're looking to do and what benefits you're looking for. And so start there, take a look at that, and then you can contact anybody in the membership team. So Jessica, who's on the call, and she can start answering questions for you.
Perfect. So then we also have, how do I check if I'm properly connected to a vendor and if my electronic purchase orders are being submitted correctly?
I volunteered to take that one. So one of the things that we've done when we're onboarding with a supplier is to send a email version of the purchase order as well as the PromoStandards purchase order, so they can do a side-by-side comparison and see that the data we transmitted matches what's in their system, matches what we would have sent manually via email prior to PromoStandards. So that's been a good double check for us. We have someone on our team dedicated to partnering with our suppliers to make sure that each service that goes live is working properly and that both parties are getting the data that they need.
Okay. Well, I don't know if the person is here that asked that, but if you are and you have any follow-up questions, let us know as we go through this list. Assistance with setting up accounts for integration. That was one for Antera, which is we're going to, as I mentioned, open that up for breakout rooms after, and then again with OneSource. PFAS laws regarding shipping to California, New York, and Colorado. Do we have anyone on the call that can help answer that?
I know we talked about various compliance issues that we probably need to make a place for, either in the product data service or in the compliance data. I don't think we have yet a handle on what all of those rules are. That's certainly one I don't think was on our discussion the last time we had it. So I think we'll be seeking more input from the community on those. What are some of those data points that we're just not collecting, and how can we better provide that?
Perfect, thank you. Next would be implementation, best practices, and ensuring vendor consistency across standards, order status, tracking, and invoices. Patrick, are you able to help with implementation with best practices with those?
Sure. No, with implementation of best practices, obviously we have a spot on the PromoStandards.org website for best practices. It's a way you can go in and we check, we call out certain best practices when setting up different endpoints, best ways to go about setting those up, what those individual objects are, and the best way to use those. So my suggestion for implementing best practices is go check out the website. And if you do have questions after going through all those endpoints, obviously reach out to one of us on Slack. There's a best practices thread inside of PromoStandards Slack channel, and you can reach out to any one of us, and we all get it, and we can answer those questions as they come up.
And an important thing to mention also is, I know this call was open to members and non-members. So if you are not a member of PromoStandards, you don't have access to Slack to ask our committee members questions. So that is probably the biggest reason for membership for PromoStandards is you will be able to go ask those questions directly to the people that are creating those best practice documents and creating the standards, as well as our board and hundreds of developers who have successfully implemented the standards. So that is a huge reason for membership. A lot of times, if you're not a member, you'll send me those technical questions. I'm not a technical person. I'm more of a logistics person. So I'm connecting members with people that can answer those questions. But again, if you're not a member, then really the only resources you have would be our free YouTube resources or any free resources on our website. So just a little side step there. All right, the next question is, how can regional associations help promote PromoStandards? Examples, West Coast event, free tables at shows, webinars, supplier education sessions. I'll also post it here in this Zoom.
Yeah. All of those things are good. So the first step is exactly who asked the question. So if they're involved with a RAC, one of those regional groups, recognizing that PromoStandards is here, that we're a nonprofit organization that's here to create interoperability standards. Starting out with that messaging, that's a good start. Having things like literature available, et cetera, it's all good. We're, as you said, Jessica, at the beginning, we're very much volunteer run. We can't be everywhere, but we've got a fair number of members. And so maybe where that regional event is, there may be a member of PromoStandards who could be a representative of PromoStandards at one of those events. So I'd say if you're involved in a RAC, talk with the MMEC, which is the Membership Marketing and Education Committee. And with that, you can ask them that very question. Say, we're doing this. Do you have somebody available? Is there a member that's in the area, et cetera? We won't have the answers at the top of our head. We don't manage it like that, but we can work through that to start getting the process started. We'll see where it goes from there.
And our next question, overview of the PromoStandards ecosystem, suppliers, buyers, interfaces. Anyone want to volunteer for that?
I guess I'll take it. So Staples as a distributor, we are connected with all of our suppliers and also with our regional decorators via PromoStandards. We don't use a third-party service provider. All of our implementations are written in-house, but we do have several people on our teams who represent service providers that can help you with those integrations.
So it can be such a broad question, and depending on your role and what you're doing, there could be a lot to it. But if you want an overview, on the website, there's the Getting Started under About Us. And I would say that's a good place to start. There's a little video there that gives a synopsis over 45 minutes of who we are, what we're doing, how to get started, and all of that.
And our next question is finding third-party partners to assess the cost time for implementing remaining standards.
Another one where the website is a great resource. So under resources menu, there's the service provider directory that contains a list of all service providers and what they offer. In the future, you're going to see that that's going to start getting organized by different types of services that the service providers offer. But for now, if you're looking for integration services and things like that, take a look, go to the service provider directory, and talk to some people, get in contact with them.
Then we have some what's next for PromoStandards. So any upcoming updates, new standards, and future directions.
So after the Tech Summit, we met with as the Standards Committee and went through all the feedback and kind of conversations we had over the course of that week. We felt like there was a big interest in being able to subscribe to events instead of polling like we do right now by date and time to find things that have changed. So that's one thing we're really looking into. And then the other was just, again, improving that product data. So we're putting some effort into standardizing, enumerating common values where we think they make sense. And we're partnering with the Best Practices Committee and the Decorator Work Group in that initiative. So those are kind of our top 3 for the year, I think.
Perfect. This one, it's order API connections to standardized OMS platforms. Anyone able to, wasn't really formed as a question.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're on the call and that was your question, if you can elaborate. If not, we'll go on to the next one. What are the key benefits of PromoStandards and how can we best utilize it?
Well, the biggest benefit for us as a distributor, the thing we got the most value out of immediately was order status. Just eliminating those emails and phone calls to follow up on issues and track orders. Order status and ship notification were just big wins for us immediately. Following that, I think purchase order delivery and invoicing improvements have really given our teams time to focus on orders that need additional attention, and then there are just orders that flow through completely untouched by anyone, all the way out to the customer billing piece. So I can't. There are just so many ways we benefited from implementing PromoStandards.
Yeah. So the standards are organized into status document sets like inventory availability, order status, order ship notice, which Erica was talking about. And then there's the data document set, which are things like product data, media, etc. And then there's the transactional ones like PO and invoicing, remittance device, which is a new one. So in that order, that's how the complexity goes. The low-hanging fruit and the easiest and the quickest win is with the status documents. That doesn't matter if you're a supplier that is, in effect, publishing or the distributor that's consuming. That for both those parties, the things that come out a lot is suppliers getting calls from distributors saying, do you have this product available? And then wanting to check on the status of the order, that they got the order. and then where is it in the pipeline, and then what's up with my shipment. So those are the things that generate the most calls. Those are the easiest for suppliers to implement. It's also the easiest for distributors to consume. So that's a really great place to start. But at the end of the day, it's between your trading partner relationships. That if you find, and we've seen this, that there's a supplier that'll say, well, if you go electronically, we can get you in front of the queue just by the nature of it. It's not going to take a day or two to process it. There's not a back and forth. You could do it 24/7. So it gets priority placement just by virtue of the PO being transmitted electronically. But then the supplier is also putting a premium on that to expedite that because they're trying to encourage that. So it all depends on your relationship. If you have something that you need to know that is getting processed quickly and shipping, the most valuable thing for you as a distributor for a particular trading partner may be the PO. But in general, start with the status document sets and go from there. It's the easiest way to get your feet wet. It's the easiest way to meet the needs of your internal users if you're a distributor or your trading partners if you're a supplier.
Yeah, I double down on that and also say shipping notifications as well. Order status and shipping notifications are kind of brother and sister, and so those two are really beneficial.
Okay, on to the next one. Using PromoStandards badging to certify displayed data as direct from vendors.
I can take that one. There's been talk for years about certification. And when I say years, I'm talking about before the official founding of PromoStandards. At that time, we weren't ready to get involved with data. We certainly weren't ready to develop a certification process or even something as simple as badging. I think it's very reasonable to say this data sourced from the supplier. In a PromoStandards world, that is the assumption, actually. It doesn't matter if there's a service provider hosting it. That data is coming from the supplier. Even because there are some service providers out there that are providing that information or even collect it and make it available. We know who they are for things like product research. At the end of the day, it's you talking to your supplier and saying, where's the official source of your data? And if the official source of your data is, they'll tell you the specific endpoint. That endpoint is published. So whatever you see in the PromoStandards directory listing for the endpoint, that is coming from the supplier saying officially, what is the source of that data? So like with product data. So that's the first thing. So there's not a need so much for official badging, but along the realms of certification or aligned with that, we are looking at data quality, data certification, and the badgings that go with that.
Well, so if I can chime into that. So that one is specifically my question. So I'm with I Promote You, and so it's very similar to Office Depot, where I'm not really worried about myself validating the data that I'm pulling from PromoStandards. It's the user, it's my user, and so it's like third removed. It's like the customer of your customer, right? And so throughout my platform, I've got inventory data and things of that nature that I just think like a PS badge or a PromoStandards certified or something along those lines.
For sourcing, that this data came from PromoStandards.
Yeah, like that makes my data look better. Like, so, here's generic inventory data that I can't validate, where this is validated from the vendor and like this is a source that you can trust. I'd love to be able to put a stamp there.
So that's a function of if you're using the official endpoint. That's right now, that's not so much a PromoStandards thing. It's in your ecosystem. You're presenting the data. Where did you get that data from? You know where you got the data from. So if it came from a PromoStandards endpoint, put a badge on there for a PromoStandards.
So you're telling me that you're okay with me creating a generic PromoStandards?
No. So if what you're saying, and that's where I was going to go next, and that's very good. If you're looking for official PromoStandards badging that says this came from a PromoStandards endpoint, okay, we'll take that down. We understand what you're asking for, and we'll make sure there's a discussion about it.
Okay, cool. All right.
So Jessica,
prioritize it.
That's an action item for us. So we have had discussions about that who's allowed to use promo standard badging that we have, which right now is the logo. But there are discussions about creating a graphical badge that says Promo Standards member, for example. So you're taking it to the next step and say, okay, I would like an official badge that as a Promo Standards member, I can put this badge on data that I'm sourcing from a Promo Standards endpoint.
Yeah.
Understand?
Like Twitter certified or any of those other like social media certification, like the blue check mark or whatever. Like it would be phenomenal if I could have a badge that I could put on my data that like FDA approved. You know what I mean?
I want to add that would be very helpful for us as well. We clean up a lot of data, so if there's any kind of approved badge or potentially on our side, on Sapsira's side, when we are ready post cleanup, we could also certify the data as well. But this would be great. This is a highly important topic to.
So this is why I actually started talking about certification, because that's inevitably where it goes. There's a distinction between a badge saying where it's sourced from versus this is certified data. That is a much bigger lift that's going to take to set expectations a couple of years. It's going to take years to work through that process. We're at the point right now where at the Tech Summit, we introduced a self-attestation questionnaire, an SAQ. And we're in Rev 1 of that came out of the best practices committee to say, okay, here are the best practices for Rev 1 for an SAQ. And at that point, a supplier can go through that and say, yeah, I did these things. It's not just supplier, it's distributor also for purchase orders. But this is where I stand, and it's an attestation. It's not a certification. That is our path. That is our roadmap down the path to get to certification. So we have to build our muscle there before we get there. So I think what you want is great. I think a first step would be badging. There's real value in the Promo Standards brand. People being associated with Promo Standards.
Yeah.
Like anything, it's not perfect, but it's good. And it's really good what the standards are doing. So we'll definitely have a discussion about Promo Standards badging. And so that's the first part. That again walks us down, gets us down the path that at some point to say this endpoint or the data in this point is the publisher of it is certified for that endpoint to be compliant. And then the supplier has to actually certify, really they're attesting that their quality is meeting not only the syntax of the endpoints, but the best practices.
No.
It is.
Okay.
So that's great. That's where it goes. And then at some point, if necessary, and that's a function of what the market needs and what the market wants, not just the market, but what membership wants, that gets us closer to say, okay, we better understand what certification involves, and we see that there's value in it, and these are the things that we will be certifying against. We're not there yet. We're nowhere near that.
That's really cool, though. And if we're ideating here, where my head goes is if my developer, the internet speed tests where it tells you how fast your internet is or whatever, it would be great if my developer could use an endpoint and send a ping to that other endpoint, and then there would be an automation where it would, I'd get a check to know that it does the thing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. We actually talked about it in the very early days that whenever you have an endpoint, right, whenever you've got two systems communicating, you've got these things like timeout, right, and retries and pings or statuses. So that's something for Erica to hear. And ultimately, the way that works is, as a member, you can put in a request for an enhancement to a standard or a whole new standard, whole new document, whole new endpoint. And so it's about getting that out there. And then from that, then it ultimately, the board decides priorities organizationally. And then from there, it gets to the standards committee to design, develop, and implement. So if you want a ping, in other words, put in the request that you'd like a ping.
That's great. No, that's great. So how do I submit a request for a new standard? What's the workflow for me to be able to submit stuff?
That's a great question. So I think ultimately we should probably have a channel for that, or maybe ultimately actually have a database for that, where you can look for like-minded requests and things like that.
Yeah, you need a backlog.
Run it through, sure. Right, exactly. Yeah. Run it through Jessica. I would start there, and then when Jessica quickly gets tired of that, she's like, let's find a better way to do this.
All right, Jessica, you're my person. All right, we're going to...
Sounds good.
Okay. Can you put your email address in the chat so I can send you a message?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. We'll have a solution by Monday.
That's what I like to hear. There we go.
Okay, the next question, best practices for integrating with screen print and embroidery decoration companies.
Man, we have several that we're working with right now. There are some gaps in PromoStandards as far as support for suppliers who don't have product. So I think I'm not quite sure how some of the decorators are handling that, but we're basically sending them the supplier's product information and then their decoration information, which we're loading manually because we can't get it via PromoStandards. And it's working pretty well. The biggest thing that our decorators like is the outbound ship notification, where we can send them the tracking that goes with the blank product that's coming to their warehouse, so they know that they've gotten a purchase order and now they've got product arriving, and they can match them up and actually bring it to the production floor. So there are some members that are doing contract decorating via PromoStandards that you can reach out to in the Slack channel. That would be great resources.
Thank you. All right, next is authentication and sessions, namespace references, duplication errors, consistency of error handling.
Yes, all of that for the standards committee. We're aware, again, volunteer organization. We've had various people on the committee over the years, and never want to make the new standard just like the old standard just to be consistent. So we've tried to improve where we can, but it has created some differences and inconsistencies in the error handling. The namespaces are a giant pain in the butt, and I get so many questions about them. That was just the organizational approach that they took to the XSDs. I don't know that we would do it that way in the future, but I will say in the future, I don't think we want to continue using SOAP. So unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with the standards that are out there in their current form until we completely replace them with something more modern. Authentication and sessions, I know we have really tried to avoid changing that because we don't want to have multiple authentication methods. That really makes integration more complicated. And we certainly, as an organization, don't want to be responsible for authenticating on behalf of suppliers and distributors in the industry. So our current approach really lets suppliers own who can connect to them and control the credentialing. So I think that will stay the way it is.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's their door, and they have to decide if that door is open to you or not. And we also, as a standards body and not a service provider, we're not looking to get in the business of credentialing ourselves and issuing credentials. We're going to use standards for that, to do that.
And our next is best practices. If Patrick, you could just let everyone know what best practices is working on. I don't know if it would be beneficial for you to possibly share your screen and just show how people can go in and look at best practices. And that is a frequently asked question I get through email.
Sure. I'm integrated with Teams, so I'm trying to figure out how to share. All right. Perfect. So on the PromoStandards website, we have this section here for resources, and we have a best practices, PromoStandards best practices. You'll need to sign in to the account. Once you're in, it'll take you to this page where you click here to redirect you, and you'll come to this best practices home. Yes, looks like this. So we have a couple sections set up for distributor best practices, general best practices, and then the supplier provided. And if you're a supplier, for the best practices for them. So in the distributor section, we have a few things, some sample code. It's down here, technical implementation guide for distributors. But what we've really been working on lately is under the supplier home, we have these best practices per endpoint. And here we have these listed out for all of the endpoints that we've been reviewing. We keep adding to these probably monthly. So check back here often as we continually go over these different areas here. So if you want to know how to connect, product data 2.0/1.0, we have best practices recommendations. We're starting to add scenarios to these best practices. And then we get to the endpoint itself, and we give best practice recommendations per field. So this is a great way to run through this and just see, for a color name, this is usually what we're doing. A recommendation for suppliers is to do this and be consistent, that type of thing. So this is really what the Best Practices Committee's been working on, is updating these endpoints to make sure we call out specific guidelines to each of the fields. And if you go down to the bottom, we've started introducing, maybe not this one, bad example. We started introducing example codes, both the calls and the responses. So it's a good place to start. And again, I'll recommend that if you do have questions after reviewing the best practices, put a little comment in the Slack channel if you're a member, and we can help you out.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question: how are categories defined by suppliers?
We're talking about product categories. I think we have some general something in product data today. We're really looking to expand that. I think best practices will be coming out with a common list of enumerated categories to be used for product data, hopefully in the near future. I think product categorization is something that we feel is important, probably our first step towards what we're going to call soft enumerations, things that aren't strictly enforced by the XSD, but will become requirements to utilize the service, that we will all speak the same language when we're talking about certain values, and categories is one of those that's on the list. I know that we handed over to the team that's taking the lead on that project.
Yeah, and those enumerations ultimately will become standards themselves, lists. It will be the official list of how you communicate this particular enumeration.
This next question, I think kind of already answered, but I'm going to read it just in case anyone has something to add. We are a supplier of blank apparel and have had numerous requests for API integrations with our customers, and would like to learn more about PromoStandards membership and what the process looks like for suppliers. Anyone have anything to add to that from anything we haven't already discussed?
It's that first one. Go to the website, go to membership, and get the process started. And if you need to speak with somebody, again, speak with Jessica, and she'll get you in contact with likely a board member who can have that discussion and talk about what that journey is, how you can get involved, and how you can implement the standards.
Thank you. How to promote consistency in the way that various vendors provide data.
Now that goes back to that enumeration. That was number one feedback we got at the Tech Summit this year. So the Standards Committee, we immediately looked for ways we can implement that without breaking existing integrations. Like, we don't want to do something that sort of makes the world stop while we all scramble to adopt consistency in data. But we want to make a path that makes sense, that people can adopt, so that we can get good data. I mean, that's what we all want. So I think you'll be seeing more information about that come out this year.
Okay. The next question. I'm unclear what information is available regarding product specifications, such as size, measurements, fabrication, color, etc. Do you have some examples of apparel products that provide this?
Yeah, I get this question periodically from suppliers. Like, can you give me an example so I know what I'm trying to do? So sometimes, if I can get an example of another supplier and then scrub the data and make it generic and still make sense, I can share it. But that's sort of difficult for us to do, to make meaningful examples of product data without disclosing another supplier's pricing or offerings. So I think if you're a distributor looking to see what kind of product data you could get, I'd say contact one of your suppliers and say, can you show me an example of what I would get if I implement this with you? That would be ideal, because then you're really going to see what your suppliers can provide, and data that you can then compare to what you have in your systems today and see how it aligns.
So reading into that a little bit, you can see that people are asking, and it's what Erica's talking about, is like, can we see this? It would be something for the best practices committee maybe to consider, and saying, as part of best practices, do we have sample data so people could see what well-formed sample data?
They do, and the feedback I got was, well, it lacked context, or it wasn't meaningful because it didn't align with a product that they were familiar with. And so it was just a bunch of data and they weren't really able to understand it. So I don't know if that's just feedback for best practices.
Yeah. So it's Microsoft's famous example is they create the Northwinds trading database that has the whole ecosystem, which gives you that, right? Gives you context. You could dig into it. That's probably a big lift for us. But certainly we can take it under advisement, and if we want to hear from more of the membership, and if that's value for membership, we could produce examples. We could work towards that. But in the meantime, and if there's not a big demand for it, I'd say definitely get involved. So talk to people in best practices, or talk to I don't know if it's talking to your trading partner so much, but within the PromoStandards world, just kind of put it out there in the general channel and see what you get. And then you may find that there are suppliers stepping up or others that can provide advice. It's a place to start.
All roads lead to Slack, it seems. If any, what are the most common challenges businesses face when implementing PromoStandards, and how does your team support them?
I know, if people are working on their own implementation, we field a lot of questions, everything from general questions about using the WSDL to more complex questions like precisely what is this element used for and how would it apply to my business. And then we also get questions from people who are interested in getting started with PromoStandards but don't have an in-house development team, we're able to connect them with the third-party service provider list in PromoStandards so that they can reach out and work with a company that can come alongside and help them take advantage of those services.
Okay, well, those are all of the pre-submitted questions with the exception of the specific service provider questions that we will get to in the breakout rooms. I did see Chad, you had a question. Do you want to, I'm having trouble locating that in the comments. Would you like to share what that question is?
Yeah, it had to do with authentication. I asked, it was one of the questions you already answered, but I just to iterate on it, was obviously one of the big bandwidth parts of every request is the authentication part. So I wonder if there's any standards in terms of, giving a cookie or a token. I don't know. I'm assuming that there isn't. So if that's something we just have to do on our own, that's fine. So it was mainly answered already.
Okay. Kevin, I saw that you had a question.
I was just talking about, vendors qualifying. There was some, top 20 distributors years ago, or suppliers that started like a quality assurance, where everything was, where the products were coming from and sourced and produced. I think it was back in an earlier question, but I think it got answered.
I do have another question too. Regarding the credential requests. Currently on the website, you have users, and then there's also emails at the top that you can add, but it doesn't actually send requests to those emails. Like say you have a request email, because we don't want requests going to specific users on our end. So I was wondering if there's a way that we could have the request emails go to a specific email instead of choosing which user it goes to.
There is a way on that bottom part when you set up that user. There's a checkbox for credential requests. So just have that set only on that one email account you want it to go to.
Yeah, we don't want it to go to those users, though. We want it to go to a specific email like integrations at or info at.
Yeah, I think that would be I'm not for sure how to do that, but I think we just have a user that we set up that has that.
Yeah. Okay.
That email will, I think, if I'm not mistaken, will need to be associated within the PromoStandards database with some kind of membership in order to be added as someone on that endpoints as being able to receive those credentialing requests. But first, they would have to fill out that application form first, and then email me, admin at promostandards.org to go through the process of applying them to the company on the endpoint side.
Okay. So yeah, no generic email like, that we could use. Okay.
I think you could use a generic email, I believe. I think others have done it also. It's just they would have to have a profile within the PromoStandards database. So you could, assign, I think I've seen some put it as credentialing requests, or it doesn't have to be a specific name of a person, but it does have to have a profile.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw a question about Slack and how do you get access. You become a member if you're not a member, and based on what tier of membership that you have, that will correlate to how many Slack email users get access to Slack. Associate members get 1 email access, adopting members get 5, and advisory get 10. So it just depends on your level of membership. Non-members do not get email access. Are there any other questions that anyone has? If not, what we can do now is I can open up breakout rooms. If you are on, we had 2 several questions for Distributor Central. So Pablo is here with that, and he'll go in a breakout room to help answer those. And then I had some for Antera. So if you're here and you want to go in the Antera breakout room, will you just, I think there's a way to raise your hand in the participants area. If you would raise your hand, and I can assign you to that breakout room.
Just to jump in quickly while Jessica's doing that, there were a lot of good discussion points on this and people with good ideas. If you want to work on these and get these things done, I would encourage you to get involved. I know to get into work groups and committees and stuff like that, there takes a certain level of membership that Jessica can expand on once I finish. But if you want to get things your ideas kind of worked on, you have to work on other ideas too, but join, get involved, get on a team that works on this stuff and make some headway. That's the best way to, in my opinion, it's the best way to get your, to get some things moving on things that you are noticing that we don't do currently. I hope that makes sense, but I just encourage you to get involved.
Get involved and volunteer. Okay, Carrie, Carlos, I have you guys. If, once I open up breakout rooms, you guys will go to your own breakout room. If you could now, if you have a Distributor Central one source question for Pablo, if you would raise your hand, and then I can add you to that breakout room as well. Sorry, I know this process takes a little bit of time. Anyone else going once? Going twice? All right, now I gotta get, sorry. Sorry, this is my first time doing this. Pablo. Okay, I'm going to open up breakout rooms for those questions. And then I believe this general room will be still available if anyone else has questions. I think that worked. So if anyone else has a question, if not, the office hours will be closing apart from those two breakout rooms. If there are no other questions, thank you so much to all of our volunteers and representatives from each of these committees, the board, and work groups. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for helping answer questions. We get so many technical questions, and it's really helpful to have these office hours. I think this is going to be a great thing to have every month so that people can come and ask the questions that they're needing some pointers on. So thank you so much to all of our volunteers for making the time for this.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Breakout rooms. It looks like signed guest. Sorry, trying to
Take your time.
do this. I don't see an option. Let me see. I can send a message to Carrie and let her know when she's done in there.
Oh, no, it's fine. I just wanted to join because we were working with Carrie on some stuff and maybe gonna.
I don't think I have a way. If there's a way, it's not letting me.
It's fine.
Oh, wait.
Right here, it asked me, you've been assigned to breakout room 2. No, that's the wrong one.
I can do it.
There. Thank you.
You're welcome.